Welcome to The Chalene Show. Chalene is a Guinness Book of World Record holder for starring in the most fitness videos and the founder of the Smart Success Academy. Your host once went 9 days without checking email or social media accounts and lived to tell with the first female white rapper from the 80s, Chalene Johnson.
Thinking of a master plan, cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket on my money spent, but I get deeper and still coming up with lint. I'm Chalene Johnson and I'm here to rock. Rhymes like mine can never be stopped. See, there's one of me and I know I'm lean. Party rockers, down stoppers, and my name's Chalene. I know, not that great. Every part of that intro was true except the part about me being a female white rapper from the 80s. But, you know, actually it is true because I am white and I did rap in the 80s, but just from the privacy of my Camaro. So by now you've probably figured out I don't take myself too seriously, but there's a few other things I thought I should probably tell you about myself, and I'm hoping that I can learn more about you. I am so sorry. How rude of me to just start talking to you without ever really formally introducing myself. So I figured what better opportunity than now when I realize I'm getting comments from people who are like, who are you? Where did you come from? And what are you all about? That I didn't properly introduce myself. So if you already know who I am, please feel free to save yourself a little bit of time today and you can ignore this episode. But if we're just meeting each other and just starting to spend time together, I thought it would be great if I could introduce myself, and it'd be super cool if you could introduce yourself to me. Just do it on my blog. Go to chalenejohnson.com/podcast and then click on this episode, which is entitled My Story. Tell me what you thought about this episode, and most importantly, tell me a little bit about your story. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you enjoy the show, or maybe why you hate the show. So to tell you a little bit about who I am and where I came from, my name is Chalene Johnson, my maiden name. I shouldn't tell you that because you'll probably then steal my identity and you'll be able to crack all my passwords and log into my bank accounts and start posting as me on Facebook. Anyways, I grew up in Michigan, born in Detroit, but I lived all over Michigan. I lived in a tiny little town called Fowlerville. I lived in a city called Portland. I basically went to high school in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then, of course, East Lansing is where I went to school at Michigan State. I grew up the daughter of a serial entrepreneur, which was really fun. My parents are still married, happily married, and Bill and Marge were great parents. My father had many, many businesses and did a lot of really interesting things to create income. I think the one thing I learned from my upbringing was that just go for it, try it. You know, he was always kind of reinventing himself and doing new, completely different businesses. And we had this life where I didn't realize that maybe financially times were tough. I just always, from a very young age, was taught that if there's something you want, then we'll just come up with a creative way for you to earn the money to have that, and then to make a decision on whether you want to buy that after you think about the hard work that went into making that money. So I learned at a very young age that I could recreate myself, that I could solve problems for people, I could become a solution, I could offer my services, and in doing so, I could become financially independent. I could take care of myself. I could take care of other people. So by the time I was maybe 13 or 14, I'm not sure exactly, I had already purchased a very tiny land contract, which with my dad's help, and purchased a little teeny tiny piece of land out in the woods that somebody had a trailer on, true story, and they sent me money monthly on a land contract. I mean, it was legitimately my first experience earning money on my own. And you might think, what kid could buy a piece of land? You can buy a little tiny lot of land in a northern very rural Michigan county for next to nothing back then. But it was a really great experience, and it taught me a lot about money and entrepreneurship and being self-sufficient. I also learned to flip cars. That's kind of how I put myself through college, was by buying used cars from auctions and then fixing them up cosmetically and reselling them. My first business was actually doing just that. It was called the All Michigan Auto Swap Meet. And I rented a piece of land from the state of Michigan while I was a student at Michigan State University. And I would rent out spaces to individuals selling their own private vehicles. And then I would also allow people who wanted to buy a vehicle from a private owner to come in, and then they could negotiate with a private owner as opposed to going to a dealership. So, it worked out pretty cool. And it also was something I was very passionate about because I love cars. And to this day, I love cars. That was my first official business and the first business where I had employees and actually made some income. And I sold the business before moving to California after I graduated from Michigan State University. My degree is in Justice, Morality, and Constitutional Democracy. Yes, that is a degree at Michigan State University within the Honors College at James Madison, which is where most of the athletes at Michigan State live. And that might clue you in on how I met my handsome husband. My handsome husband, Bret Johnson, was the youngest quarterback to ever start at UCLA. I'm not sure what year that was, maybe 88, 89. And then I'm told that there was a falling out or a change of staff, and my husband at the time decided to see if there was another school or it might be a better fit for him. And I guess he took a bunch of trips to other schools, other universities before realizing that he wanted to be at Michigan State University so he could, again, have that opportunity to play in the Rose Bowl. We met, I think a week after he transferred to Michigan State University, and I didn't know he was a football player. It's a long story. I'll tell you sometime over dinner. But nonetheless, we are together today, and we graduated from Michigan State and jumped in my Honda Prelude with a dog in the back and drove across the country to California, which is where he was born and raised. And I started working as a paralegal. That was my goal. I finished college and worked through college with my business, and also by working full-time as a paralegal to put myself through college, and took the LSAT several times and started applying to law schools when I decided, I should establish residency in California and apply to the California law schools. And maybe I can take the LSAT just one more time in hopes that I might get a better score. And this time I'll take a prep course, and I know I'll get a better score, and I know I'll get into a better school. And so that didn't work out so well. I took a prep course and studied like crazy. And then I took the LSAT again, and I think I was 1 point higher. Wah, wah. But I guess that was a blessing in disguise, because while I was working as a paralegal full-time, and Bret, by the way, got picked up by the Toronto Argonauts, and he left for Canada. I'm like, I just got here to this warm, beautiful state, and there's not a ring on my finger, so, good luck, bye, love ya. And we had a long-distance relationship, but I stayed in California to pursue my degree. I hope to pursue a degree in law and to continue to work as a paralegal. And he went to play football in the Canadian Football League, and we stayed together. And in that process, I started doing personal training, before work and after work, and kind of doing some fitness classes here in Southern California just to keep myself busy because my boyfriend was gone. I sucked at teaching fitness classes. I was terrible at it, but I loved taking them. I loved being in that group environment. I'm like, gosh, I know I could get good at this because I'm comfortable in front of people. I love talking. I love dance. I love music. I love inspiring people. I know I could get good at this. It seems like it's a skill I could master. So I couldn't get hired anywhere. Every time I went on an audition, it was kind of like they would pat me on top of the head and go, "Oh, that's so cute. No, honey, no, you're not meant to be teaching fitness classes." So I just started taking classes from other incredible instructors here in Southern California, like Jay Blahnik and Eileen Sharon. And these are all just names that are very well known in the fitness industry. And they all just happen to live in Southern California. Donna Meyer and Rob Glick, Linda McHugh. There's so many I can't even list them all. But I started taking their classes and learning what made them great. And I think the one thing I picked up on is that they were just very natural. They were very much themselves. They really connected with people. They made people feel special. That was something I could do pretty easily. The piece I didn't have was I was not very good at feeling the beat of the music and putting my choreography together. So I just had to work on those skills. And eventually I did get hired at gyms before and after work, so much so that my classes started becoming really, really popular. And so was my personal training business. And I loved it. And I really hated sitting in an office chair reading depositions and creating billable hours. Now, no offense to anyone out there who's thinking about a career in law. Thank God that there are phenomenal attorneys out there. The one piece of advice I would give anyone who's a new entrepreneur is never skimp when it comes to your accountant and or your lawyer. You need a great lawyer. It wasn't for me. I knew I felt dead inside when I was sitting in that chair trying to stay awake all day creating billable hours. And it wasn't until about 4:30 p.m. that I would start to get butterflies. And I couldn't wait to go do this thing that I really wasn't getting paid much money for, which was teaching fitness classes. Now, I was making money as a personal trainer, but it felt like an exchange of my time for money. It didn't feel like it. It was that. I was exchanging. If I wasn't working with somebody, I wasn't making any money. So two things. Number one is I started a personal training outsourcing company. It was called In-Home Personal Training. Isn't that a catchy name? And I would train other personal trainers how to train people in their homes. And so I manage a very small staff of other personal trainers. I got them their clients. I helped them understand what it took to be a good business person and how to maintain clients and how to keep that ball rolling and keep people, needing you. And then I also continued to teach fitness classes. And I started developing this kind of like weird, funky hybrid version of a class. It was called Turbo Kick. Actually, at the time, it didn't even have a name. It was just called kickboxing. No special name. But it didn't fit with what people would expect when they would take a kickboxing class, because I wasn't doing traditional kickboxing. I was doing kind of a mix of hip hop and a little bit of dance and a little bit of kickboxing and a little bit of athletic drills and doing these anaerobic drills in the middle where the music would speed up. And it took off. It took off like crazy. And I realized that a lot of fitness instructors, needed a problem solved. And the problem was that most fitness professionals were not doing it for the money. They were doing it because they loved it. It gave them a high. It was rewarding. But they would spend hours creating these classes and this choreographed music and putting them together. And then they would make, just barely over minimum wage in some cases. And it just didn't make sense. So I thought, what if I could do all that for them? I could test the workouts. I could create the music. I could create the choreography. I could put together this perfect paint by numbers workout that actually worked, and then you could step into the room and be you. It's your personality that makes people come to classes anyways, and it's just having that perfect blend of music and choreography that is the icing on the cake. But people really show up because of you. You're motivating. So I started creating that, and again, not my own concept. I really looked at the jazzercise fitness model and said, yeah, I can do something like this, but cooler. And I started licensing music and creating these workouts, and it became pretty popular, very popular. So much so that my husband and I decided that he would quit his full-time job, which at the time wasn't something he loved. It was just kind of like that first gig after college. Like he was helping a friend manage his business. So it was a risk and it was scary, but we decided to go into this, both of us, full time. It was scary and it was rocky and it was awkward and it was difficult. And we struggled to figure out, like, am I the boss? Are you the boss? And then that whole dichotomy between a husband and a wife where, the husband, I just think naturally wants to provide for and take care of the family, which I wanted him to do too, but it felt like he was working for me at first. And we eventually figured that out. We really figured it out where I could rely completely on the strengths that he had, which I did not have at all. And he could, rely on the strengths that I had, characteristics that he didn't have. And I think we make a great team, I have to say. But it was rocky. It was tough. It was not easy. We figured it out, and it has been such a rewarding experience to figure that out and to have somebody who's always by your side with a little different perspective, but we both want the same thing. We talk about the same people. We're working towards the same goals. Like everything about our day is pretty much aligned. I mean, there are moments when he coaches football, by the way. He coaches high school football at a local high school, but he doesn't do that as a teacher. He does it, out of passion and love. And I don't know how long he'll do that after my son graduates from high school, but it's, that's when he does his own thing. And when I'm doing my own thing, it's really, I love to dance, I love to paint, etc. But other than that, we're either talking about kids or talking about business, and people go, doesn't that make you like business partners? And it's difficult to like separate that from, your love connection. And I don't think so at all. I think it makes us more appreciate each other. And then we do have our date nights at least once, if not twice a week. And we're more connected today than we ever were, even 10 years ago, even when we first met. Our relationship is first and foremost, and we put so much effort into it, and nothing matters as much as that. So we figured that out, and we started the certification company and started selling clothing and workouts and apparel, and an apparel company that kind of built this huge tribe of fitness instructors across the globe who were teaching our workout. And then we started certifying people so that they could teach this workout, and we put them on a continuity program where they would sign up to become a member, and then every month we would send them a new workout, new music, and a new routine. And it was a lot. It was a lot of work. We had to hire and recruit the right people to then certify and represent our brand and our program, in every state and in lots of different countries. And that meant taking care of people so that they embodied the brand and that they felt important, and they understood that it was them that people were falling in love with, because they wouldn't meet me. They would meet the trainer who was going to teach them how to teach this format. So I needed people who were super lovable and really humble and caring and came from the right place and could take care of people and could make people, after one day of going through a training, I needed the kind of individual who could make you feel like you could do this. So it was a pretty special group of people, but that required developing really special relationships with these people. I mean, the reason why our business was successful, I believe, is because of the relationships that Bret and I had with what we called our area promotions directors. I mean, they are, to this day, where I give my gratitude. And I mean, it's because of them that we were able to create this huge tribe, this following, this culture around a workout. It's the craziest thing. And before long, we had the workout in like thousands of health clubs. That meant at a certain stage, we had millions of people doing this workout live every day. Now, they weren't doing it on video. They were doing it in a club. And their particular instructor was the person who was their quote unquote tribe leader. That was the person who they fell in love with. Now, I was creating the program. I mean, people just became a part of this movement, and not always knowing like where it started. Like, people didn't always know me. They just felt like they had stepped into a class and that they belonged. And that's what I wanted. I wanted people to fall in love with their instructor and then fall in love with the person next to them and just walk into a room and feel like they belonged. And a big part of that was just the look and the feel and attracting a certain type of individual who wasn't being served by the treadmill or the bike or your traditional group exercise classes. And that's how the apparel kind of worked into this. You know, it's kind of like when you think about Harley Davidson and the way that's a culture, and you'll see, you know, dentists and lawyers and doctors and engineers, and then on the weekends, they put on their gear, you know, they put on their jeans and their black leather and the boots, and the apparel is part of that culture. And that's really what I used to help inspire a deeper sense of tribe, a deeper sense of community, so that people didn't just identify themselves when they walked in the room, like they could look across the room at somebody. And we all kind of started to, you know, have this way of dressing. It was really fun to do. Some of it was intentional. Some of it was just accidental. But once I realized that it was working, I'm like, let's emphasize this. I mean, here we were starting this crazy business at something that I was really not very good at. But once I figured out a way to master it and then solve that problem for fellow instructors, now suddenly we had, I mean, we were we were doing really well, and we had everything I had imagined. I didn't intend for it ever to be fitness, but I always expected I would help people solve a problem that I had once figured out. So it all sounds pretty good, right? Like we've got this crazy, unique business, and we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of customers who are turning this into this ginormous tribe of people who are getting together online, and they feel like they belong to something. And I mean, it's really going well. And we've got like 60 or 70 now area promotions directors, by the way, whom I felt like each and every one of them was a good friend. I mean, and that's how I selected them. And I really cultivated those relationships. Obviously we were doing really, really well financially. It was unbelievable that this had snowballed into this amazing thing that I had dreamed of. But I never really sat down and defined what I wanted for my life. I mean, I knew what I thought success would look like, but I didn't. Once I was there and we were there, I was so completely overwhelmed. And, oh God, I mean, just thinking about it right now, it takes my breath away. It literally makes me want to cry, because it was such an overwhelming sense of obligation to so many people. And what made me feel sick every single day in the bottom of my stomach was that I knew the only 3 people in the world who mattered were Brock, Sierra, those are my 2 kids, and Bret. And I couldn't give them what I was supposed to be giving them. I mean, and my husband and I, especially me, I was not good at delegating. And I felt an incredible demand on me to give of myself to all of these people, all of these trainers, all of these customers. And I wanted to be in every single video. I wanted to pick every single song, and I wanted to be in the production studio cutting up the music, and I wanted to oversee. I did everything. I don't even know if I wanted to. I just felt like I couldn't let anyone else do all of these things. It was so much pressure. And we had tremendous success. We had, 60,000, 70,000. I don't know how many thousands of instructors worldwide teaching this format, but it meant every single day there was more to do, because I started creating new programs. And then there was Hip Hop Hustle and Payo and Turbo Kick and All-Star Presenter Camp. And I had to be in every video, and I had to pick every single song. And because I believed no one else could do it the way I did it and care as much, I turned into a shell of a person. And what began to suffer was my health, my relationships, my ability to be present. At some point, you're going to break. And my breaking point was about the time that we signed to do a fitness infomercial called Turbo Jam. And we signed that deal with the giant, now in the industry, the giant, which is Beachbody. But we had the opportunity to really pick whatever company we wanted to work with, because our programs were hot. And I had these incredible testimonials from people who had lost, hundreds of pounds and kept it off for years. So, Guthrie Ranker and Silmark and Beachbody and a lot of companies that have since gone out of business, they were all offering us amazing contracts. And probably the scariest contract for me to accept, the one with the smallest dollar amount, was the Beachbody offer. But there was something about Beachbody, and it was their community, and it was the way they understood what it was I was doing, and they didn't ask me to change anything. They're like, we get it. We totally get it. So I signed an infomercial deal with them. We went to film, and I just knew it was going to be a hit. The main reason why I knew it was going to be a hit is not even so much because of TV, but because I knew I had instructors in every single state who had their own huge group of fans who would want to do this at home. So it was kind of a no-brainer, and sure enough, it was a #1 hit. But then on top of everything else I was doing and felt that nobody else could do, now I felt a need to take care of fans and customers and respond to emails. And what if somebody didn't like it? And it got to the point where it didn't matter how much money we were making. It didn't matter that we had an infomercial show that was #1. It didn't matter. And I didn't like the fame. I didn't like that people now were recognizing me and saying like really super awkward things in front of my kids, like, hey, what's it like to have Chalene as your mom? Like, how does a kid even respond to that? It's just your mom. And and it was so overwhelming. And now we had like more money than we even knew what to do with. And that made me feel like there was more people to take care of and more people to be responsible to, and it just didn't matter anymore. All I knew is that I had never been so unhappy and so overwhelmed and so distant, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew it could go on this way. I mean, Bret and I were either going to end up divorced, or my kids were going to end up those kids that, you hear about because their parents completely abandoned them, that they just, go the wrong way. I knew I was missing out on so much. I knew that everything I said I wanted, I had, but I wasn't happy because I never thought about what I wanted was peace. I wanted to live in a big house, and I wanted to be able to have the kind of money that afforded me the ability to just take care of people and pay for crazy things. And I knew I wanted to solve problems for people, and I knew I wanted all these things. But the one thing I didn't realize was going to make me happy was having calm, having peace. And this is only my definition of success. For me to feel successful, I have to feel a certain level of peace. I have to feel that I can connect with my family and the people who are important to me without any guilt or feeling like there's all these other people I have to take care of. And we got to a place where we said, this can't happen. We now have to disassemble this. And my husband and I went through a plan. We created a blueprint to disassemble my own prison, the prison that I had built myself. I had to learn how to delegate. I had to learn how to let go. I had to learn how to put other people at the forefront and to let other people do the things that they will do better than me. And I had to stop being a perfectionist, and I had to delegate, and I had to lift people up so that they could do a better job of the things I thought I had to do. And it took some time, and we created a blueprint, and we eventually were able to sell a business that just 5 years prior was completely dependent upon one person. But by the time we were able to sell our companies, we had built an even stronger tribe, a stronger family, and we had put better people in positions doing things that I thought only I could do. And we were eventually purchased by Beachbody. I can't disclose that deal, but I can just tell you this. It wasn't about the number. It was about, how can I make this right for people? This is a child that I've raised. That's how I felt about my businesses. And I need to place it in the hands of somebody who, I know they're not going to do it like me, but it's my best chance. And this company either dissolves or it grows, but I can't grow it and stay true to who I am and be happy. So we sold that company. And since that time, my husband and I continue to work with Beachbody. I am a consultant. My husband and I both consult with them in the business acquisition. And we still help to consult to make sure that the brands still are strong and that we're serving instructors and that instructor community. I also have a contractual relationship with Beachbody where I do fitness infomercials from them. And that's like completely separate. So I still do consumer videos, and that's a much, much more enjoyable thing to do than pumping out videos every single month to fitness instructors. It's so doable. I maybe do one project every 2 years. So it's very doable. And it's allowed the two of us to do what we believe is our purpose and our calling. So now we own a company called Team Johnson. We have maybe 3 full-time employees. Everyone else is virtual staff or consultant. We work a couple hours a day, and what we do is we teach people how to do less. I teach people entrepreneurship because when this all happened, we realized, okay, we're starting over from scratch. We've got this opportunity to build our dream life, and we'll do it differently this time, and we will have a plan before we start. And we'll know exactly what we want it to look like and what we don't want it to look like. So we started with that plan, and it seemed very utopian-like, but then we created a system around it. Both of us felt compelled to help others avoid some of the pitfalls that we found ourselves in. And we were very compelled to share this message, but to be able to do that in a way that still was true to our priorities. And that meant that neither of us wanted to tour the country speaking. We wanted to teach and to share, but to do it from the privacy of our home and to be done by 3 p.m. when the kids get home from school. and to not feel that like overwhelming obligation to take care of people at 9:00 at night and on Saturdays and on Sundays, which you can't help but feel if you have a huge organization. I'm not saying that everyone should avoid that. I just know that we didn't want our lives to feel like that. That's exactly what the internet has allowed us to do, is to build a secondary business. I like to think of it as a secondary life. I like to think of it as a second chance. It's everything that I wanted, but with far more purpose and thought and planning. And now we've created all of these very simple systems that I wish I had known the first time around. And it is my calling to be able to share it with other people. And the reason why we both are able to be together and be there for our kids is, quite frankly, because of mediums like this. Because I can talk to you and I can share these stories with you without having to fly to wherever it is you live, and without having to pack a suitcase, and without having to actually get on the phone. I can share these messages with you, and we can help inspire other couples and still stay true to our key priorities, which is our kids and our family and our marriage. It's been very rewarding. I love doing the online academies because I'd love to be a teacher. I'd love to be a professor. And whatever it is I'm learning, that's what I'm going to share with my lifers next. And once I figured out how to change the way we operate and live far more productively and with greater purpose, and the systems, the habits, and the tools and the resources, and then the policies and the single subject scheduling that people need to learn in order to live this way and to, start a secondary business, or maybe just to connect with the people that you love and not to feel like you're busy all day but completely unproductive. We wouldn't be able to teach that to people if it weren't for the internet. So when people will reply to me on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, and they'll say, come to Maryland or come to Boston, or when are you going to come to China? I always answer the same, which is maybe someday after my kids have left and gone to school. But for right now, I am where I'm supposed to be. And just a couple of times a year, Bret and I put on seminars. We put on Smart Success once a year, not 5 times a year, once a year. And once it's closed, it's closed. And we put on Marketing Impact Academy once a year. And those are the seminars we're doing right now. I'm doing this podcast, but most of what we do to help people is done so in a way that it still supports and stays true and authentic to what we believe is most important in our own definition of success, which is really our own definition of happiness. It's not fame always that brings people money. I mean, we earn a far greater income today. I know that's going to surprise people, by coaching people to do less so that they can be more. We not only, and kind of the income part is like, who cares? Like, that wasn't our intention. More important, I think, even than the fact that our income has grown, is that our purpose feels like it's being fulfilled. Both of us feel that way. It's so rewarding to help people reconnect and to stop listening to what society says you're supposed to do in order to be successful, and to listen to your gut and to listen to your heart and to lead with love and to put people first. So it's a pretty cool thing, because the most important people you should serve are the people who will be at your bedside at the end of your life. Period. End of subject. I want to teach people how their worth and their value does not come from their resume, but from the way they treat the people who matter the most. Anyways, that's who I am. I don't know where I'm going next. I do know this, though. Whatever I figure out, I will then share it with you. I didn't know that I would figure out fitness. I didn't know that eventually I would end up doing a lot of my connecting with people online and in social media, and understanding how to stay connected with people and serve them from my computer without having to travel around the world and speak, because I want to stay home. I'm recording this right now from my home. I don't like to leave. I want to be with my family. So I don't know where I'll be 10 years from now, but I do know this very clearly, that wherever I am, I will be helping you. Whatever I figured out, I'm going to share the answers with you. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm just going to tell you how I did it. And if that helps you, then I know I am living my purpose. I'm a woman of faith. I'm a Christian. I believe that you have to listen to people. You have to hear their story, and you have to lead with love. And when you do that, everything just kind of falls into place. So anyways, that's a little bit about me. Did I mention I have a brother and a sister and I live in Southern California? Gosh, I guess you'll get more of this stuff as you listen to the shows. I just thought it would be a good idea to tell you who I am and save you some time in trying to figure it out, because life's too short. And if I'm not your cup of tea, God bless you. I understand, no hard feelings. Move on in light and love, and have a blessed day. But if I'm the kind of person you relate to, I want to thank you for spending time with me. So tell me a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you stand for? Where do you live? What do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? What's important to you? Where are you, working on yourself? What's a challenge for you right now? Head over to my blog at chalenejohnson.com/podcast and leave me a message. I would love to get to know you. Until next time, lifers, I love ya. I mean it.
Thanks for listening, lifers. Chalene invites you to join her for her free coaching program designed to help you get organized, productive, and laser-focused on what really matters. To sign up for a free video coaching program, please visit 30daypush.com.